Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell swap crew members. We'll talk about it coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, 2311 has finally got that pit crew swap that they wanted for the 23 car and Bubba Wallace. Before we get, and they took them from the 20 crew of Christopher Bell. They sort of swapped crew members. So before we get into it, let's look at the actual nuts and bolts of what got traded. This article from John Newby at the Heavy. 2 NASCAR Cup Series drivers will have some new crew members. The pit crew for the coming up Atlanta Motor Speedway. Joe Gibbs Racing has made changes to the number 20 team of Christopher Bell and the number 23 team of Bubba Wallace. The NASCAR roster portal revealed the changes, and then Joe Gibbs Racing confirmed them to NBC Sports. Wallace will now have Houston Stamper as the front tire changer and Joe Crossan as the tire carrier, both of whom are from Bell's number 20 team. Though Stamper joined the group starting with the Advent Health 400 at Kansas Speedway in May. Bell's team will have a new front tire changer in Jackson Gibbs and a new tire carrier in Nick McBeth, both of whom have spent time with Wallace's team. Like Stamper, Gibbs was a new addition to the lineup for the race at Kansas Speedway. Additionally, AJ Rossini joins as the new rear tire changer after he spent time as a tire changer for Chip Ganassi Racing in the IndyCar Series. All right, so a lot to digest there. Obviously, the main consensus is that the 23 team of Bubba Wallace is getting the better end of this deal. That is the main perception from everybody, that he has gotten a better pit crew because his pit crew has struggled all season. They've had multiple, I can't even remember another pit crew having as many mistakes on pit road as they have had. So if you're 2311, you're obviously stoked. If you're Bubba Wallace, you're obviously stoked. You're like, we finally got a pit crew. But on the other end of that is Christopher Bell, who, just for those of you who didn't know, his crew has struggled a little bit this season too. I don't know if they have struggled to the level that the 2311 crew has struggled. So I don't know that he is necessarily super happy about this, but I don't think that he is as mad as people would think. But that being said, you do have to be kind of bummed out if you're Christopher Bell, because you've had this crew for a little while, except for obviously the right front tire changer that came at Kansas. So if you're Christopher Bell, you gotta kind of be bummed out because you're right in this playoff hunt. Although you don't have a win, you're still trying to point your way in. The general consensus is that Christopher Bell is probably upset. But what this shows to me is just a more interesting look at how Joe Gibbs and Toyota works overall. So let's talk about that next. And I think what Toyota and Joe Gibbs are showing is that the guy who brings the most money in to the program, the more high-profile driver, is going to get the vast majority of the resources. Christopher Bell, he's well-funded. He is a Toyota guy, but he doesn't bring in nearly as much sponsor money as Bubba Wallace. So when Bubba Wallace is struggling, they seem to be shifting all of the stuff to him. Now, it's not necessarily that Bubba Wallace asked for this. I think it's just sort of the Toyota business model. They've got this guy bringing in a lot of money, so they're going to do whatever they can to make him look good. So it's sort of the Daniel Suarez thing. Daniel Suarez said, yeah, I went to Stewart-Haas, and yeah, I went to Joe Gibbs Racing, but I was never the number one guy, so he wanted to be the number one guy if he got another opportunity. He said that several times about why he moved to Trackhouse, why he went with Trackhouse when they first started, when they were the single car team. He wanted to be the number one guy, and that is something that future free agents need to look at if they're going to Toyota or, Rick Hendrick or Joe Gibbs or, whoever, Stewart-Haas. Are you going to be one of the number one? Are you going to be one of the main guys there? Are you bringing that sponsor money to be a main guy? Or are you just going to be another guy there that sort of gets shuffled around? Obviously, we saw Eric Jones get shuffled out of that ride. We've seen several people get shuffled out of rides at Gibbs. So if you're not the number one person, are you getting the number one resources? I think that is a fair question to ask. Now, all this aside, me personally, how would I feel if I was in this situation? If you're Bubba Wallace and you're in that 23 car, you feel like, yeah, we just got to upgrade on the pit crew. And honestly, if I'm the 20 team, I got to be like, what are we doing here? I'm in the playoffs. I've gotten us in the playoffs in points so far. Obviously, haven't won a race. They're not locked in, but he's above the cut line at least. So you got to be kind of bummed out that you're losing a crew member there. So Yeah, it's a tough sport, but sometimes that's the way it goes. All right, if you made it this far, feel free to subscribe down below. It helps the channel out a lot, and I really appreciate it. And if you got a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the question and comment section. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.